Hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Anime again. Before we start this week, I just want to say there's going to be no Digimon Ghost game because of the hack, but, I'll get into that in a later video because I'm starting a podcast for this type of thing starting next season, so that's gonna come up, but, other than that, we got a lot to get through, so let's just get started. So, again, with this show, they went through and they, went through Hazel's backstory and how, he was abused as a child and how they, they wanted him to heal. But we already know that. We already know, how he came to be in this, in the possession of this, pendant and, that he follows, this big Hulk around. We already know all of this. There's no plot other than that. It's basically just, they're still driving. I guess they're still getting to point B, and, they're gonna stop this church who's plotting something, but other than that, we don't really know anything about that, and I'm a little worried because, we're on episode 10, and the last show was only 12 episodes long, so maybe they're gonna pull something out of left field, but I'm kind of worried that this is just become stagnant and they're not going to do anything else with it. So I think this may be the only episode. I think this is probably going to be the best part in this show, only because it's the only part in the show that actually makes sense. We can clearly know that Dominique's been dressing as her brother because she's grief stricken and she can't get over the fact that he's dead. And can you imagine that? Can you imagine being so traumatized by having your brother, literally get his head chopped off in front of you that you start dressing as him and you start acting like, it's kind of implied that his personality is living in her body, but I don't think they've clearly established that yet. She said something along those lines, but and then to be taken advantage of by this creepy kid who's basically trying to lure Vanitas out of I actually like this idea. I wish the show was more of this. I wish the show was more of this kind of thing, because this is actually kind of neat, where we're gonna find out why Vanitas killed his father, or at least that's what was supposed to happen. I don't know if that's actually going to happen, but, this show is doing something that actually makes sense, and that's actually, clear plot progression. And I'm not sitting here going, oh my god, what the hell is going on? Which really impresses me, because it gives me hope that the show is going to, hopefully if they do a season 3, the show is going to get better. So speaking of getting better, this show has actually, I was afraid that nothing was going to happen, but, we have a clear, concise, plot now, people are going to hunt, what's his face, the redhead. I don't actually remember his name, but people are going to hunt him for this princess inside him, and this princess can do, the idea that people can do really cool things with these powers, fucking turn buildings upside. I hope this show becomes one of those shows, Black Arrow, where things just go completely insane and people do really, really, really nutso shit with these powers, because that would be cool. Because, he literally flips the entire world. The villain, actually flips this entire world upside down, and that was really cool. And then, the goddess, uses her powers to draw everyone's sword. And I'm sitting there going, oh my god, this is kind of awesome. I also feel bad for Nanao, the little one, because, you can tell that the only reason she's doing any of this is because she's following the older hooded, actually, do we know his name? I don't think we know his name, but you can tell she's only doing any of this because she's following him, and, basically he just, shuts her down and tells her that he's useless, and the look on her face, you almost feel sorry for her. Other than that, it's basically, this gives me hope that the show can do something interesting with its plot. We'll see, because so far it's been kind of generic, but at least this gives me some hope. I like this episode is based on her cosplays, and that's really cute. The only thing of relevance here is that we find out that Juju is her sister was scared to cosplay because she was afraid, or maybe it was, she was jealous of her sister, and she was, sister, which is an interesting dynamic. It might lead to conflict in the future, but basically it's just more gushing about cosplays. I'm a little bit worried though, because this was supposed to be a romantic comedy, and there's not been a lot of romance so far. So I have the feeling that after this episode, I have a feeling the real Arakawa is like way somewhere else, and that they've just been fighting, kind of like could realize that they've just been fighting clones this entire time, and that they're gonna have to keep finding him, and that he's gonna step out of the shadows. I really like him as a villain, so I hope they don't just kill him off now, because that would kind of piss me off. Also, I don't blame. I like the dynamic between Bisco and Milo. I think it's really cute, and I think he's starting to view Milo as a son, or maybe it's Milo. Maybe that's just the way the Japanese. Anyway, he's starting to view him as a son, sort of, and he just wants to do what makes him, pretty much he just wants to protect him and his sister, and he wants to honor what he told him, which I think is very sweet. And I really, really, really like that scene in the underground where he just basically keeps coming at Arakawa, and Arakawa realizes that underneath all that bravado, he's just as scared as Bisco as everybody else. Obviously, we have more episodes, so Bisco's probably not dead, and the manga's still going. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he's dead. And I like the fact that people just keep showing up to save him. Like, his companion shows up, and Mila's sister shows up, and then so it shows he has a team, and he has people to support him when he gets into Train Nice. But yeah, the show is getting better. It's kind of a slow burn, but hopefully it gets to the point where it actually does something really cool with its plot. So I have to admit that while the romance aspect of this show grosses me out, the spy aspect is actually pretty good, and I love the idea that this guy took in this group of orphans, and he basically trained. It kind of reminds me of a Gunslinger Girl, except instead of girls, it's all boys. And basically Rangha, I finally remember his name, he was one of these boys, and I raised basicly, and you're not him, so who are you? And I'm curious to know if, Rangha will ever, actually, because we know who he really is, but I'm curious if he'll ever divulge that to anybody else. But, this should be some interest in espionage. But I'm still worried that the show is going to go back to the romance aspect, and please just drop that. Please just drop that part, because that part is, in my opinion, what ruins the show, because it's not romantic. It's just really toxic and creepy. Okay, so at this point, I'm just kind of writing this show out. Like, we get to see what Zeroth was like when he was younger. I don't care. I want them to explain how the sister is connected to this device, and how, she's sending out these, how she's sending them these catastrophes. And I like the fact that other people besides the three are getting visions, but because it keeps changing its mind, and it keeps, redoing. It's just really stupid. And that's a shame, because this idea could have been really neat if they, actually focused and actually, take out the superpowers. Don't focus on the superpowers. Only focus on the visions. Also, why would you set up a system that is designed to, the kind of system is clearly supposed to be based off the Sybil system from Psychopaths, but the idea of Psychopaths is people were testing the Sybil system to see if they could surpass it. The flaw with the Sybil system is it can't catch everything. the flaw with this system is that it just doesn't work, period. It's that, they just didn't design it correctly. So why would you design this system and then when you realize it's stupid, basically. You have a system that doesn't work, and instead of shutting it down or revamping it, you decide, it needs a human brain in order to work. That's really stupid. So, I like the fact that Sasaki is waiting for Miyano to confess to him. I like the fact that, he's basically said, I can wait as long as it takes him, because I know he likes me, and I know that at some point he's gonna tell me he likes me. I hope he tells me, because I don't want to wait forever. But I do have a problem with him locking the door, because that's a little bit controlling. But I like the fact that he unlocked it, and I think it's more to give them privacy and keep other people out than to actually keep Miyano in. Other than that, it's more of the same. I hope if they do a season 2, they'll kind of, get to the point where they're dating, because as much as I don't mind slow burn romances is that much, it is getting kind of boring that they're now repeating the same thing over and over again. Yeah, we get it. Miyano's scared to admit he's admitted to himself that he likes Sasaki. And that's more progress than most shows, but, he hasn't admitted to Sasaki that he likes him. And I think one of the things I like is that and that interests me, is that there have been hints that Hirano likes this other guy, and hopefully we get something with that. But, I don't know. If we get a season 2, then I hope this moves more forward. I think what I find interesting about this episode is that everybody is just, I like how casual he is, and I like how they're all just basically like, we want to take Arjuro down. We want to, beat him for what he's done. And if that means, allying himself with Kazuki in the meantime, we don't trust you, but we know that you're what we need to beat this guy, and that's how we're going to beat him. So I find that very interesting. I also find it very interesting that Yoneda has basically just devolved into deciding he's gonna blow everything up. He wants to make things, he wants insanity, which I actually really like in a villain who's just basically like, I just want to burn everything and, watch everything blow up, he's nuts. And I wish we'd have more villains who are just nuts. Other than that, this should make a good for a very interesting dynamic in the future. There's going to be a lot of infighting probably. Some of them are going to say, you shouldn't trust Kazuki, we shouldn't play with him. Others are going to say, and I hope they do something with the girl. What's her name? I forget her name. I hope they do something with the girl, because she's kind of sat in the background the whole time. They've done something with the redhead, and they've done something with Haru, but the girl, the redhead, learns to be stronger, and Haru learns basically that, he needs to be more confident in himself. The girl hasn't really gotten any development, so I hope they do something with her. So what's sad about this show is that in a better show with better writing, the girl, what's her name? The pilot wanting to stay and fight, and the one pilot the one pilot's navigator freaking out because she likes him and she doesn't want him to stay. The one voiced by Hiro Shimono, his navigator is freaking out because she likes him and she doesn't want him to get hurt, and they're basically evacuating everybody else, and it's just Carl and Benjamin and his name I forget his name, but in another show, and plus the blonde, leader, I don't even remember their names at this point. I'm so bored with this show that I don't remember their fucking names. And her quitting because she's tired of this it would be much more interesting in a show if they'd all been fleshed out, but they hadn't been fleshed out. And the biggest question for me still is, why should we care that Carl hates Nina? Why should we care that, other than his parents maybe being murdered, other than that, and we've seen that his parents apparently weren't good people, other than that, why should we care? We don't care. I don't care. I don't care even slightly. And it's clear to me that the show is not going to fix that. So at this point, I'm just writing this show. I don't hate it. It's a middling 6, but it's not good. And I would not recommend this show to anybody.